Hello, Smite lovers, and welcome to the North American SPL. I'm Anatoly. Joining me today will be F. Dot. How are you feeling?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm excited to talk some North American action.
Today is going to be that North American action, and heading into Valencia, there's going to be 3 spots for North America. 4 for Europe, just simply because they're better, and that last remaining spot for South America. Heading into the North American standings, though, we're going to go ahead and see just where all these teams are trying to get into those 3 spots. It's going to be a very tight race for them.
Yeah, as you said, only 3 North American spots. So Monkey Madness sitting up there on the top with 7 points. That's because they've gotten 2 wins, so they're looking kind of pretty there. ALG is the number 2 team, which I think might surprise some people.
Luminosity also sitting pretty at 4 points as well. With E United, normally Luminosity sets the bar. I definitely feel like Team Allegiance is playing above their standards, but on the bottom there, Memory of Gabe, Eager, Flashpoint, and Noble all struggling right now.
Yeah, no points for Flashpoint, who we're going to see play first today. Flashpoint will take on Eager, who has just 1 or 2 points themselves.
Absolutely. Heading forward into the day, E United against Team Allegiance. In Memory of Gabe against Noble will be your 3rd match of the day. And to wrap things up, Luminosity against Monkey Madness. But talking about E United against Allegiance, both of these teams sitting at 4 points each. They found 1 win, 1 split. Who do you think has the slight edge here in this matchup?
When it comes to E United versus ALG?
Yes.
When it comes to E United versus ALG, one of the biggest changes, obviously, for E United has been the support position. Polar Bear Mike in, Pain to Beyond out. And this is a regime change, essentially. This is not just a player that's going to play your support, but it's also a player coach. And I think I applaud E United because, 1, Pain to Beyond was associated with the brand for a long time. And moving away from somebody like that is really tough. But they moved away in the right direction by grabbing Polar Bear Mike. Polar Bear Mike and Pain to Beyond occupy the same space. When you're looking for a jungler, you find a jungler. When you're looking for a player, you find a player. When you're looking for a player coach, there's not that many out there. And the stars aligned, Polar Bear Mike was available. And now that he's here, it almost seems like the team is more cohesive than when Pain to Beyond was there.
I definitely feel like it's a plug-and-play here in that support role as Polar Bear Mike fills in the shoes for Pain to Beyond. It's something that gives new, fresh breath to the team here for Polar Bear Mike. He still has the same strategies that Pain to Beyond does. He likes to play these aggressive support guards every now and then. And so far, it's been working out for E United as they beat Eager last set, as well as splitting within Memory of Gabe. But in the mid matchup specifically, I'm looking at Met Yankee here because thus far he has a very interesting god pool. What he's been playing, a lot of Isis and 1 Nox game thus far.
And I think this is where Met Yankee is finally coming into himself as a proper mid laner. Formerly a Hunter player, he was one of 3 North American players that moved to this mid lane. We saw Basket, I think, excel first, and then Andy sort of figured it out second and went beyond where Basket has been. Anister, I think, is the top of those 3 players that moved. And Matt Yankee kind of fell down to the bottom of the conversation and really wasn't the guy for a while. And he was trying to play all these hard meta picks, and they just weren't working out. You see him transition to the Isis, and you mentioned the Nox. You give this man a control mage, and all of a sudden, Matt Yankee surges to the top as a better mid laner. I expect him to really, he found himself. Embrace that, and I think ALG could be very successful.
I think he definitely fits into the style that Allegiance brings to the table here for Weekend specifically, that always likes to sit in that solo lane matchup, catering around Cyclone Spin. As long as you leave Med Yankee alone with a comfortable and safe god, obviously Isis and Nox can peel for themselves whenever needed to, you'll put him in a good spot. But he'll be up against Chaos today out of E United, and this guy right here, he has another interesting switch of god changes as well, because he's been playing more Soul and Thoth recently rather than his normal Giannis's and the Agnes and the Jean-Quis.
And I think that's by design, Anatoly. As I mentioned, the change in the support players is one of the bigger changes that we've seen in Smite. Pain to Beyond has been with this team through 2 different organization changes, Enemy and now E United, and even beyond that, Pain to Beyond was the cornerstone for this team. Now, he had 2 completely different teams, essentially, and Chaos was the main factor sticking around. Now, you change things around by leaving Polar Bear Mike, Pain of Beyond in the dust, excuse me, Chaos is the last remaining relic of that old guard on the team. And you need that veteran leadership there and present in order to be successful. So when it comes down to it, Chaos does have an eclectic god pool, bringing the Zhong-Kui to the forefront, Agni, whether he's in meta or not. And I think what it comes down to is Chaos realizes that he has to be this cornerstone. He can't play coin flip gods any longer. He has to play characters that the team can depend on, and he can always be that reliable mid laner. So Chaos shifting his god pool over in that direction, I think it's perfect.
Well, E-United's going to be looking at Chaos for that victory. Do you think E-United has this set?
E-United versus ALG, it's interesting. I think the safe bet would be a split. So if you're working for your FP, yeah, I would put down a split. But me personally, I'm very excited about, honestly, both of these teams. But I think Polar Bear Mike can take E-United and push them to the next level. And I think that we can see a 2-0 for the red, white, and blue.
Well, I'm going with a safe bet with the split. But heading into that first matchup, Eager against Flashpoint. Two teams that have been struggling quite heavily here, especially for Eager with their new jungler, Sanford Soccer, in that position as well. Now, Zapman is going to be taking that long break. After 5 years of playing, he's now committed on Twitter saying that he will take a break for this split.
Yeah, and I do want to say that Zapman will be playing today, so you get to say goodbye to one of the longtime hunters in the league. But yeah, you mentioned Sanford Soccer, and look, man, sometimes it's not all roses and daisies. Sanford Soccer just frankly has not worked out for Eager. Granted, and I will be completely fair to the player, it has just been a couple of games, but at the end of the day, this is a very short split. This is a 5-week split. You need to excel now, and that's not what's happening with Sanford Soccer, unfortunately. Just not positive at all. Eager has had a lot of struggles, and I think that juggle role since DJ moved on has been a problem.
Absolutely. They only split against Monkey Madness, losing to E-United earlier on last week. Not able to find the victories quite yet that Eager's been known to do. This is a team that's had a lot of success in the past in North America. They never really got to the big stage, like past the semifinals, but now they are probably at their lowest low, so they need to figure out a way to bounce back. And this set here against Flashpoint, another team that's been struggling, could be the revitalizing tool that Eager needs to get that confidence booster.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Look, you said struggle, and Eager has been struggling. You know, I'm gonna bring it back to Pokemon real quick. When you run out of PP, every Pokemon resorts to struggle, and struggle actually does some sort of damage. Flashpoint isn't doing any damage, and again, just like I said about Sam, unfortunately, sometimes the negative is the only storyline here, and I just don't see a positive for Flashpoint at all. I lovingly called this team Flashpoint Academy last split, where Shadowq was sort of joined by this ragtag group of individuals that were all trying to succeed and trying to individually improve, and I liked watching that. I think it worked out for some players better than others, but I did see that improvement on this Flashpoint roster. I see a lot of maybe they can make this work, but in the games, it is so far from actually working out that unfortunately Flashpoint are not going to do much.
I just don't see the same amount of confidence coming from the jungler Mirage, coming from Flashpoint. Before, when he was first playing in this SPL, he was playing the Nemesis, he was going very aggressive and diving backlines any single time he had the opportunity to, but this split, for whatever reason, he hasn't had the same kind of confidence boost, I feel like, comparatively to the last seasons.
It's completely about arena and surrounding. I mean, Noble wasn't exactly the #1 team, but there were players on there like Wowie and Wubbin that we now see excel. When you look at Flashpoint now, every player is a gamble. Mirage and Shadowq are the two veteran players on the squad, and I mean, Mirage is not a veteran, and Shadowq is, you know, a relic of his former self. He's not able to really stand on the legs that he used to. And Flashpoint, just unfortunately for me, Toli, this isn't even a project team. This is a team that just work on your individual skills here.
Absolutely. I feel like Mirage here playing too many different gods. He has the 2 Thanatos games so far, 1 Thor, 1 Chang'e, but for Eager, Sanford Soccer, thus far, he's played a different god in every single game thus far in the SPL. And I think, like, as a rookie here in the SPL, that's not something you necessarily want to start off your career with. You want to try to figure out what's going to work in the long run for you and your team.
Sure, and let me preface this statement by saying I have no qualms with what Mirage is doing. I mean, sometimes you're given a hand that you can't do anything with, and I applaud him for not folding. and just sticking it out with the team. I think that's an important look, and getting your reps in, so to speak, is fine. Sam for Soccer, on the other hand, I'm actually going to disagree with you there, Toli. I don't mind him playing different gods, because look, we saw the Thor, and it didn't work. So try something else. We saw the Naja. It didn't work. So try something else. Now, if your pocket pick goes 20-1, and we see the one game, sure, pick it a second time. But that Erlang Shen game, 2-1-3, if I'm not mistaken, that's totally fine. That's all Eager needs. So yes, I have no problem with Sam for Soccer digging into his god pool and finding something that actually works.
Well, Sam for Soccer, Eager, Mirage, on Flashpoint. Who do you have for this set before we throw it to the casters?
I mean, this one is the easiest one ever. It's Eager 2-0, easy.
I would have to agree with you. Well, let's go ahead and throw it to the casters for the first set of the day.
Thanks so much, Toli and Tom. Taco joined alongside me for the first set, Eager versus Flashpoint. Zap's taking a break after this one, so maybe he goes out with a bang?
It's might be going out with a bang, indeed. I mean, it's been a long time. You can't really blame the man for wanting to take a break after 5 years of consistently playing Smite.
Yeah, I should probably do the same. Don't have to work with you anymore then.
Really? It had to go that way?
Don't know why, it was you on the first set. Let's go into picks and bans, find out exactly how this one goes down. And the one thing that I do like about this as well, Taco, is technically Shadowq on Flashpoint and Eager, they're old school boys, you know? They used to lane together all the time. They were one of the best teams at the time. And so Zapman's break is going to be after he potentially causes issues for Shadowq today.
I mean, it's one way or the other, and what better way for Zap to go out than trying to take a couple of victories off of his former laning partner? You might as well go for it.
Well, bans coming through, Ganesh and Nemesis, Osiris, Bellona. Raven's available, as is Fafnir right now. Fafnir will be the first pick, Flashpoint.
I really like the safe decision-making by Eager, though, to eliminate Osiris and Bellona. I think that this is an excellent choice because not only are they going to have that Susano pick, which should be a very strong jungle pick for Sam on that role, but on top of that, they're not going to have to worry about as much pressure in the solo lane for Flashpoint, so that will also give Sam a little bit more flexibility in the jungle role and potentially let him open up the map a little bit more.
Rama versus Hou-Yi will do the matchup in the duo lane. Obviously, Eager still need a support to go with that later on. Flashpoint, though, have a couple of options to the name. They're going to go with Thor in the jungle. How are we feeling about Thor up against Susano?
I actually don't mind Thor, although Susano and Thor can kind of go either way. It all depends on who gets the jump on the other first.
Okay. So in the grand scheme of things, it's just whoever gets the combo off.
I would probably favor Susano, but just because I feel as though a setup potential is a little bit easier to execute in comparison to a Thor, where you need to land your hammer and stun combination if you want to get off the effective poke.
Well, the best are going to go for the Thoth pick. Ice is Kepri banned out, so support focus from Flashpoint here. No real surprise when you're up against Aror to make sure he doesn't get some of his comfortable gods, but then again, it is Aror and he's got a lot of comfortable gods in that support role.
Plus, you never really know what to expect from Aror. At any point, he could refer back to his Fat Chunks days and try to make something happen. Well, Raven, you know, salty run back.
That could happen too. Terra banned out, and it's going to be Geb. Disappointingly boring.
I like the safety selection. You just want as much setup as possible for your jungler and mid laner. You just want to give Sam as much comfortability as he can possibly attain.
Erlang Shen for Flashpoint there. More than likely, I guess, for the solo lane. Do we expect this? With Thor being locked in, obviously?
I would probably anticipate that to be. I don't really see it being a Thor solo.
Crazy, yeah. And final pick for Flashpoint will be the Raw. Over to Eager for their final pick. They still need a solo laner themselves here for Divios, and Divios is going to pick up the Man Mountain himself.
This was actually an insanely fast picks and ban stage for both of these teams, so you could tell that both sides already had a predetermined way that they wanted to run this.
Well, with the Hercules pick up against now Erlang Shen, how's that matchup in lane? Do you know much about that one, Erlang versus Herc?
Erlang is most likely going to offer the Death's Toll option, which Death's Toll being a very strong starter item will provide him a lot of sustain, but Hercules has the option to cancel out that Fatalis effect on Erlang's 3, so as long as Hercules is careful about that and doesn't get caught out in the creep wave, I think he'll be fine.
Well, funny enough, talking about sustain, you saw Ra getting locked in there. We're not seeing Ra for a little while. He comes and goes in waves, but he does have a lot of sustain, and that's one thing the players in their spill have kind of moved away from sustain a little bit just lately, Taco. Why is it back all of a sudden? Or is this Flashpoint just trying to find their own, their own thing?
I think Flashpoint are just trying to find their own rhythm, and Sheyka is a mid laner who's pretty notorious for not necessarily selecting the same god every single game.
Sure.
He's always trying out something different in the mid lane role that he feels will suit the team better. And speaking of trying out something new, Flashpoint with Whalrus over Dante Lafargo.
Yeah, with Dante being replaced there, Dante's a no-go, not Lafargo anymore. And they're going to actually bring in Whalrus. We'll see what he can do. Whalrus unrosted at the start of this split. A lot of people wondered where he was going to end up. In the end, he ended up on the bench of the SPL, just waiting for a team to look for an opportunity to pick him up, and Dante's was his opportunity onto Flashpoint.
I can't blame Whalrus for wanting to just select a SPL team to continue practicing with, because Whalrus really just doesn't want to get out of sync with himself as far as solo lane is concerned, because even taking a little bit of a break from the SPL can affect your competitive play style. And so I really like Flashpoint's pickup of Whalrus. I think he'll be a strong acquisition to the team, and he's an experienced solo laner, so I'm sure that will also heavily benefit Flashpoint.
So a nice easy jungle trade going on between Flashpoint and Eager right now. You saw that Eager actually started on the right-hand side with Soccer joining Divios. They strip away the blue and the speed. Meanwhile, you saw Mirage and Sheyka pushing the mid wave, steal away speed and blue going to Whalrus as well. So it's all relatively still even because the middle camps are still alive. And bad news is that Sheyka only got 2 of the little elementals there. He didn't go for the big one, a little bit worried about his positioning.
He can't really afford to go for that big elemental because he'll just take too much poke damage, plus the lane in mid. You don't want to let Best free push that, because a Thoth doesn't have out clear on a Raw. So nice poke coming out from Sheyka.
Funny enough, Best expected Sheyka to go actually out him, so he walks in to the line nuke, takes some extra poke, but Best will be okay for the time being. He can just go back in the jungle with Bumba's mask. He'll sustain back up nicely.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever, but you just got to keep an eye on these mid lane waves because they're the most important part. And speaking of keeping an eye on things, Soccer's got to be a little bit careful about the pathing he's choosing to take.
Did have a lot of opportunity to get away there, but he's got to be careful of Mirage having the wall available to him because it could have caused him a couple of issues. Over to the dual lane for the first time. There you see Geb and Rama just continuing to try and farm up. Both the supports do have Sunder, and you can already see Shadowq look for a little bit of a cheeky early on gank potential with his. Not sure how that went down as we weren't watching that side of the map.
It's interesting though because earlier on it seemed as though Eager was getting the better end of the trade in the dual lane. That's credited to Rom with the astral arrows. That lane clear is pretty insane. Even against a Fafnir and Hu Yi, pretty much level 1 lane clear will almost always favor a Rom.
Well, Divios versus Whalrus, and Divios now level 5, a little bit further ahead than Whalrus now, but once this wave hits the tower, will also hit 5-2, as long as he doesn't get poked out of it by Divios, who's just giving up the goat for the time being. And Mirage is just hovering around at the right sort of time where Divios could be looking for aggression, but he kind of recognizes that could be the go call for Thor as well.
No wards available on the map, but coming around that 3-minute area, teams are pretty much certain that there'll be a gank coming through in one of the lanes. And now it's Mirage who's initiating straight on Divios. Just short, but the hammer stun is good. Double tap on point, just not enough damage.
And the big key there was Divios driving strikes just as the Thor ult came through. I'm not sure if he knew everything about that there, just the timing was perfect. You do get a bit of a very small warning from the Thor ult though, because the ground does change and it shows you, hang on a second, warning, we've got incoming targets coming down here. So he gets away scot-free. Good to see Flashpoint be on the aggressive though, Taco, right? Straight from the outset, seeing Mirage be the first one to really gank.
I prefer to see Mirage taking the initiative, especially because he's playing this Thor, and Thor's early gank potential is just so strong. And not to say that Susano's isn't just as strong, but with Susano, you tend to need to drop an ability or two in order to have that movement into the lane. Or with Thor, you just ult straight up into the sky, and then half the map is yours.
Well, this time round, the buffs have spawned for speed, and now the blues are spawning too. Eager will get their own speed buff first of all. The enemy speed of Flashpoint is not available yet, but there's pressure on the right-hand side now onto Whalrus, looking for the rollout Cataclysm combo. That worked out nice for a roar, into a knockup yet again! Beautiful CC chain coming out from Eager, and Saga gets his name on the board.
And that is such an unfortunate circumstance for Whalrus in that solo lane. He should have probably been a little bit more careful about pressing up halfway. He might not have been aware of Soccer or Aror hanging around those fire elementals, but after Mirage had ganked and the gank was unsuccessful, I think Whalrus should have fallen back towards his tower line, simply because you can kind of always anticipate a counter initiation to come through.
Well, funny enough, we not spoke about Divios' build so far in this game, but you saw that he started off with with tier 2 of the Breastplate of Valor build here. Not necessarily going for the Breastplate of Valor, we'll see where he ends up with it. But this was started off by Deathwalker in the solo lane, and now Divios is adopting it. And if Divios adopts something that somebody else has done in the solo lane, you can take a little bit of credit for that. So Deathwalker bringing through some different builds to the solo lane now. And how he explains that, Deathwalker, is that with tier 2 of Breastplate of Valor, you get the benefit of technically having a bluestone pendant with some regeneration. Almost it's a Watcher's Gift mixed with like a Vanguard almost.
It's just the mana and the physical protections that you provided early on, and I think that also helped him out a large deal when Mirage ganked into that solo lane, and he landed a double tap. Normally that's a massive chunk of health gone, especially since Mirage is probably leveling his hammer, but unfortunately for him it just wasn't the damage. Now Whalrus trying to find the better trade onto Divios, but they both have heals.
So the bad news from Whalrus there at the end. Oh, hang on a second. Divios going to drive and strike him. Not a minion aggro, though, for Whalrus. So he didn't get punished as hard as he could have done with that driving strike. But what you saw Whalrus do there was he used his full combo. All his abilities were down, and then he ulted. So he had no real follow-up to continue the poke pressure that he was looking for.
A little awry, I would say. I mean, normally you kind of anticipate that, but he might have just been trying to force out the ultimate from Divios, because if Divios doesn't have that CC immune ultimate, it could also make things a little bit easier for Mirage to try and punish in that solo lane.
Definitely an obvious question that I can expect here is to see, will Eager look for some anti-heal here up against the Fafnir, Aror, and Whalrus? Do we expect to see some anti-heal on somebody, and if so, who?
I would probably anticipate a Pestilence to be picked up by either Divios or Aror, not necessarily early on, because I don't think that the raw healing or the sustain from Flashpoint as a whole will really become a threat until the second active time period. But speaking of threats, Zapman picking up sops.
Gets his kill, and now Auror's going to limp away from Shadowq there. But got to be careful, Zapman, because he's still hanging around for that purple buff. Well, Sheyka didn't spot him on the rotation, though, on the raw. They're looking for the pick on Aror, and the tip did not connect with Aror whatsoever there. The rollout comes through, but now Sam's going to give chase. Pull in Sheyka. Zapman around the corner. Best following in two. Sheyka's dancing in the heels for the protection as long as he can. Shadowq can peel for only so long, and he's low on mana too, so Eager might continue the chase.
But 4 versus 2 is never a good circumstance, and Flashpoint, they just don't have any sort of way to try and counteract that gank from Eager. Beautifully executed, by the way.
But at the same time, like, Sheyka just didn't realize where Zap was. If they would have spotted Zap, Zap could have been the one in trouble there. They could have collapsed onto him potentially. Or at the same time, Sheyka would have lived because he would have walked blindly into the lane.
I think that was just a little bit of tunnel vision, and that can be credited to just rookie experience.
It's one of those things like always check your corners, right? I know this is a MOBA, but technically FPS elements, you like always check your corners when you go around them, make sure no one's sneakily hiding round one. And Zap wasn't really hiding, he was just taking a purple buff.
I'm kind of surprised that he didn't hear him. He might have heard him and just opted to ignore him because he felt as though the ultimate would have secured the kill onto Aror.
Well, 3 kills the way of Eager so far. Gold lead is about 1100, which is kind of what you expect at this stage. But then the experience is the more telling thing. 2,500 experience lead for Eager. They're in a good position.
2,500 experience this early on, it could actually start to become incredibly problematic for Flashpoint, especially when you look at who that experience is falling short on. I mean, you've got Sops, who's starting to fall behind Zapman, and then Divios is getting the slightly better end over Whalrus. And Hercules as a raid boss coming into these team fights, and especially somebody like Divios, who just loves chasing after a backline.
And the bad news is Sops falling behind early, I guess. We're getting Zapman a kill on a Rama up against a Hou-Yi. You expect Hou-Yi to try and dominate around this sort of time, but if he's losing the lane because he's been picked off already, it causes some problems.
Hou-Yi definitely has probably a little bit of a more favorable matchup, considering that he has the Ricochet and the Mark of the Crow to stun out members with the dashes, and Ram is
Sops a little bit out of position, trying to flank around the back, and instead he's in an awkward position. Has to leap away back to his team. Mirage in the sky. Zap looking to clean up the kill onto Sops at the same time. Mirage comes in, doesn't hit the wall either. Cataclysm doesn't hit. It's a fiesta of missed abilities.
But it's a lucky fiesta for Mirage, but hold that thought, it might not be too lucky as Eager wants to give him the chase.
Gonna get away again. Mirage now under pressure, jumps to the hammer, but still gets hit by the knocker by Sam. The burst from Best is good, but not good enough for a kill. Shadowq in the front lines was trying to buy as much time as he can, but the big D is here, and the boulder comes through to secure Best. Another kill for Eager, and now the Gold Fury is a threat.
2 members forced into backing, and Shadowq completely annihilated. There's just, I don't see a whole lot of contests coming through for this Gold Fury.
Too early.
Way too early from Sheyka.
And now he's probably dead for that play as well. He's not even going to escape. If you're going to fire the snipe that early, in my opinion, you might as well not even bother. Like, that was clear as day. I'm not trying to fire shots at Sheyka there, but it's clear as day. He wasn't going to get a kill. He wasn't going to kill the Gold Fury. And by doing that, he got himself killed.
The only possibility I could think of there is that he was trying to force them to reset the Gold Fury, but a team as experienced as Eager, they're just going to backstep that one and just start pulling it back up again. If anything, it helps them clear it a little bit faster. So kind of a risky situation to try and take that pathing, but with
it happens.
Two members dying, it's just one of those things. You can kind of just space out sometimes. Just an unfortunate time to space out in.
Well, now it's 5-0 to Eager, and you can see the items coming through, thanks to the Gold Fury going down in Eager's favor too. hi-rez Lament available for Santa's Soccer now, so a bit more damage output there, and a Doom Bomb Best in the mid lane. As well as you can see, Zapman's working nicely on those stacks of Devour's Gauntlets, and Aror has Thebes online. So basically everyone pretty much completed an item based off that fight.
A lot of greed on the side of Eager as well. Best of the Doomworm and Zapman with Devos, that's not very common.
Why
I mean, sure,
why is Devos greedy?
Devos is greedy because you don't really get a power spike from it, and it's fairly expensive in comparison to the standard boots into Ickful, into Executioner build that we've become accustomed to seeing. And that's because Devos, you need those 75 stacks for that to really be worthwhile. Plus, when you don't have that additional attack speed like a Hunter is usually going to get from having boots, Ickful into Exe, you find the worst end of the 1v1 boxing matches. So Zap's probably looking to play this lane a little bit more passive and not really aggress unless Sops finds himself out of position.
And the funny thing about Devos, though, is did Devos kind of fall out of favor here, Taco, because Sustain kind of fell out of favor too? I feel like maybe he's picked it up because he knows he's against Aror, he's against Fafnir, so these fights could be a little bit longer in terms of the sustain power coming out from the enemy squad, so he wants to be able to sustain himself, or is it just his personal build?
It's probably just favor as far as personal opinion is concerned. In this circumstance, he felt as though Devils was the right solution here and that he wanted to sustain for himself, which means he probably felt confident that he would be able to safely farm in his dual lane, and I think that he was correct in that assumption.
So I think right now Flashpoint just need to continue to farm up. They recognize that Eager obviously completed those items ahead of them right now. It's not the right opportunity for them to really try and go aggressive, knowing that they're just slightly behind on finishing their first real item. So sit back, farm a little bit. Eager can't really find much more else as long as they keep the pole demon warded.
And all Eager are really trying to do is just roam as this four-man squad, securing the oracles pretty easily, and it's going to be incredibly difficult for Flashpoint to try and have any sort of contest.
Nice little play from Divios to catch the Mink form there from Whalrus, but Whalrus will box it out, and you can see the player damage between the two relatively close. Obviously, Divios a little bit further ahead, landing a couple more abilities, but now support and jungler turn up from respective teams. Bit of poke from Mirage onto Divios, but Divios doesn't care. He's going to driving strike 2 in, and Divios didn't want to commit under the tower there, even though he had a Aror come in. Shadowq now on his way as well.
But Shadowq, I don't think really has much burst. He's got the Sunder available, but I don't think that this is the time to try and use it. Divios has the backup of Aror, and that Gib shield is more than enough to try and deter any sort of follow-up fight.
Surprised by all the pressure on this right-hand side. I mean, in one way, but with the Gold Fury being down, there's no reason for the supports to have to be near the duo lane.
No, Aror is free to roam to wherever he pleases right now, especially since it was Eager who secured that Gold Fury. If anything, Eager are probably just looking to try and catch Flashpoint sleeping to aggress onto that portal demon.
If Divios can find some of those Earthbreakers, it could cause some problems for them. Divios going to go straight in the jungle, doesn't care about Shadowq, he's going to check if the blue's up and ward near the speed, so a bit more vision for them. Mirage has been spotted, and meanwhile Whalrus getting aggressed on, as is Divios. Both solo lanes in a bit of trouble here, but one of them's dead, and that's Whalrus. Mirage takes to the sky. The snipe from Sheyka was good on Divios to knock down the healing that he just got, but Mirage does not want to try and follow up, knowing that 4 members are Eager around. Instead, he wants to blue, and he wants to get out of dodge if he can.
I don't think he's going to be able to get out here. Best is already giving chase. So much poke damage down onto Mirage, and Sanford Soccer will clean that one up. And they're able to get away, but...
So they get the blue due Flashpoint, but they lose another life and the speed buff as well. Eager are not messing around today, Taco.
The way that they are just grouping and sieging, that is exactly what you want to see from Eager's composition against the sustain comp, because they're not permitting Flashpoint to just go even.
Sops is losing this trade against Zapman pretty bad, and I know he's really looking for that Ricochet combo. That's what all the Hoagies want to do, is do the highlight reel Ricochet. But you know who's got the highlights today? Zapman!
Oof.
No,
Best.
Damn it, I tried to, listen, it's his game before he takes a break, and I'm like, I'll give Zapman this perfect, like, last game window to show how cool he was. No, Zap, you suck. No wonder you're taking a break.
Stole words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Gotta love Best coming in.
Shout out to the Best, though.
Shout out to the Best with the follow-up, so... Sops almost got away there, but I mean, it still is really bad for Sops. I mean, that sucks. He burned his Aegis, and now he just has to worry about that.
Sops' decision making there for me was kind of that thing of like, I am playing Ho Yi. If I rotate back to the lane and stay in the jungle, if he does come through here, I can hit a triple shot and potentially turn this fight around. But by doing that, you get baited by playing Ho Yi into these ricochet positions instead of playing safe.
Well, the other issue with that as well is that Sops kind of just ate like 5 autos to the face without trying to return any damage. He has Iqval, he has Executioner. He could have looked for at least some kind of return fire, but I think he did get a little bit greedy. I'm not certain if his ricochet was already on cooldown and he was trying to wait it out.
Maybe Sops also knows that this is Zapman's break set, right?
Trying to make him look good.
So he's trying to make him look good because Zapman deserves to look good. Maybe. I don't think that's really the case, but Sops may tweet out later today saying, yes, that's exactly what I was looking for, and then everybody at home will know it's the truth.
Well, now Sops is in a really bad position because...
Oh, here we go, the roll in from Zapman. Sops going to hide inside his own ultimate there, but the bad news is Aror is rolling around the corner. They don't see him yet, but they might be hating. Sops still trying to get back to his tower. Zap should have a rollout soon, but Sops will get away just about.
They'll be just fine, but what I was saying is that he's in a really bad position because Zapman has finished Executioner himself. He already has the attack speed steroid with the 2 on Ram. Combine that with the astral arrows and the fact that his Devils is now fully stacked. He has more than enough damage now to shred Sops, so it makes the Iqval Exe rush kind of like just not matter.
The problem I can see right now for Flashpoint is solo lane's really in trouble here. Whalrus can't really do much after the lead, even though Divios is even with him. He can't really bully out this lane, and at the same time, we also see Sops is losing the lane against Zapman now, but we don't see Mirage trying to help out either of these lanes, really. I've not seen any attention paid to the dual lane just yet.
Mirage is kind of just too far behind to really have any impact right now. He's up in the air, but Eager have already spotted it out. They're not even going to stay on the Gulf area. They don't have to bait him into that area. They can just leash it and then look to aggress on it. Again, no
I'm
problem.
not 100% certain how many ults Eager know are down on Flashpoint's side, because you can see 3 members do not have their ultimate available just yet. Only Shadowq and Sheyka have theirs up. But Sheyka's is one of those telling ones that can make a big impact with the Raw Snipe.
They have to fight because Divios is staying on that solo lane side, and it's looking like they want the aggression. San for Soccer, the ultimates come out. Auror's trying to go in, but Shadowq just popped his ultimate. I think he got baited.
Yeah, he did, and this worked out well for Eager, because meanwhile, Divios on the right-hand side is going to be able to take away the speed buff, deny that from Flashpoint too, and there's nothing really wasted on the side of Eager yet. Flashpoint are trying to commit to the Gold Fury though, or rather Aror, who's been in place. The Cataclysm will buy him a moment, but Sheyka still gets the kill. Gold Fury dropping down, but Divios around the back with a boulder, double taps it, but it's not enough. Gold Fury goes down. Sheyka gets picked credit for the kill, but the bad news is, I think Sops may fall down here. Sam for Soccer picks up Sheyka, and Sops running for his life.
Sops is trying to get away. San for Soccer not pursuing Sops. I think that that's a lucky break for Sops that they traded out Sheyka for Aurora and a Gold Fury. Probably the best break that Flashpoint's had this entire game so far.
And you actually do see TheBest did get the Doom Orb and then go straight for the Divine Ruin. So they do have some anti-heal online, about the stage we expected. But with the Gold Fury going down the way of Flashpoint, Eager want to make sure their losses aren't too bad there, so they take the Portal Demon, which gives them about the same amount as a Tier 1 tower.
If anything, I would say Portal Demon's probably a little bit scarier on the side of Eager, because Eager are already ahead with the XP lead, and now with that Portal Demon available, they can aggress, and sure, they don't have the sustain composition that Flashpoint's running, but when you're able to back to base for free and still come back into a team fight no problem, that's probably even scarier than dealing with a Raw.
So small bits of good news there for Flashpoint, getting the Gold Fury, getting the first kill in this set as well, does help them out. But Eager's still definitely in control. The 4,000 gold lead isn't that much. It's something 18 minutes, but the experience is definitely more telling. Look at the junglers here right now, Taco. Level 14 to level 17.
And San for Soccer just looking very comfortable on this Susano. He's building pure damage as well. And with a 30% CDR from the hi-rez and the Jones, it's going to be incredibly difficult to lock him down.
And the thing about the pure damage, it's based off the composition, I feel. Because he knows he's got Geb in his back pocket in case he needs those shields to get him out of danger, he can go for more of a full damage penetration build over going for a little bit more defense and survivability.
And it's great because Susano is an excellent god for locking down almost anybody, but I was going to say Ra in particular. It's going to be incredibly difficult for Sheyka if he gets caught out at any point for him to escape from the mobility of a Susano.
Divios going to catch Whalrus one more time. Only a level difference between the two. Whalrus has done his job pretty well of like surviving in this lane. Even though he has dropped down twice, it was by multiple ganks from multiple members of the team. But definitely behind as a squad right now. As you can see, the engagement roaring mid, the Cataclysm does well. Shadowq takes into his ultimate form, but Mirage is forced to Aegis and take to the sky to avoid the knockup. Best just didn't have the damage to bring him down at the end, but he's got to go back in, and Best goes, you what, mate? Slap to the noggin. Mirage is out of here. Whalrus comes around the corner, though, looking to trap Best, but good news is there that Divios was there to support Best, still trying to buy time. Big old shield from Aror will get the Best out of danger for now, and Eager come out with a one-man advantage after the team fight.
Fun with Geb, and that's just what Geb does best.
Press shield.
It's just 3. He just needs to press 3 and 4 on occasion.
I don't know what Mirage was thinking, though. That was a little bit risque to
He
try
was
and jump
expecting Whalrus to get there a little bit sooner and have the taunt available to maybe... Well, I mean, Best had feeds regardless, so it was definitely still a questionable decision, but I think that he was just kind of hoping that Whalrus would be there to help assist him in picking off Best instead of getting locked down. And Sops might be getting caught up in a trade that he doesn't want to be in.
Especially against crit and sustain that's coming out. Here come the snipes. Sops is going to juke well. That one I could have gone high on because Zapman actually landed it. But beautiful 3 in a row. No mistakes, no hesitation even. Did you notice that during the snipe? It was bang, bang, bang. He predicted the movement perfectly, and Sops fell for the bait.
And Sops kind of just went in a straight line.
Exactly.
And
but sometimes going in, like the juke.
The best juke is no juke.
You reckon?
The best juke is no juke.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have no idea how many times I've seen pro players just miss entirely because people just stop moving.
So you do play against Taco in your ranked games and you want free elo. It's free elo anyway because she plays with Maddie. But on top of that, what you could also do is just hit her in a straight line and you're guaranteed to hit her. That's what Taco just confirmed.
It's not that I'm laughing about.
Are you sure?
Oh god, Maddie's so heavy.
Tier 1 goes down in the mid lane and still the pressure on from Eager. Zapman just happy to just keep wailing away with the autos now at level 19 with the rage on one stack.
They're not going to shut down Zapman on this run, and as a hyper carry, the fact that he was able to get away with the greedy build of Devos without much punishment. I would have liked to see Mirage try and place a lot more ganks into that dual lane because you are just so susceptible to getting ganked when you rush a stacking item such as Devos, because it's not the same as Transcendence. Like the thing about Transcendence is, yes, that item is more expensive, but you get the mana out of it as well as the massive power spike initially. Like as soon as you buy the item, you get a power spike from it.
It's a power trade-off with Devos, isn't it? It's like you get less power, but you get more survivability and sustain.
Exactly.
Because of it. And that works out sometimes, like you can see there.
And if you make it to this stage right here, you are just free farming everybody, especially on a Ram. He's one of the best hunters to utilize Devourer's Gauntlets on. And so I really just don't see Sops having any sort of boxing potential left with Zapman because no matter what, Zap's going to be healing.
Gold Fury has just respawned now, and Eager not in a position to do it just yet. The ward coverage is in their favor around the Gold Fury pit right now, with them having a sentry ward down there. But Flashpoint have a small idea. This could be a potential threat if they've got a ward themselves. What's his fire giant call? Is that a fire giant call on the right-hand side?
They're
what
trying.
Flashpoint doing?
There's no way. Divios is here, and they can't afford to commit.
They're trying to full commit and steal this one away from Eager under their noses. Fire Giant's low. Fire Giant goes the way of Flashpoint, but Sops is going to get the kill and look to run away. Shadowq is in a lot of trouble here. Pulled back in by Sam for Soccer. The Dragon Form is on, and now Zapman turns up and gets one. Mirage takes 3 shots, 4 shots, and then jumps away. But Zapman's not done yet. He wants to kill a Mirage. He's waiting for the last shot and will find it. Next up, Sam goes in looking for Sops, and yeah, they got the Fire Giant, but they're going to lose potentially more.
They're definitely going to lose this T2 tower. I wouldn't be surprised to see Eager even try and pressure out the Phoenix, or at least the T2 in mid as well. And that trade-off, I can't say that it was a poor decision, but I think I actually prefer that call by Flashpoint, because at least by them securing the Fire Giant, it prevents Eager from having that buff.
Agreed, and it's going to buy them a small window, if anything. They have a little bit more sustain on 3 characters, and in the best news possible, Sheyka and Sops still have it, and Whalrus too, who is one of your frontliners. So Flashpoint, they can slow down Eager a little bit, I guess, for the time being.
I expected Flashpoint to lose 3, if not 4 members after they secured that, so the fact that 3 of them were actually able to escape, I think that that was
I agree.
well disengaged by
If you
them.
are on a losing team and you manage to keep 3 members alive with the Fire Giant after stripping it away, that works out well. But Divios, he doesn't care about 4 members up against him. The Gold Fury are going to go down to Zap thanks to Devour's Gauntlets, and Flashpoint just a little bit too late. I'm not sure if they really want to fight this one, though, with how far forward Shadowq is right now. It's a little bit risky.
Kind of unfortunate. Aegir already secured that Gold Fury, and that is really what Flashpoint was looking for, because they just need any sort of gold right now to try and close that gap. If it's not so much the gold gap that's really the concern, it's just they need builds. And Aegir, everybody on this alongside Aegir, as far as the carries are concerned, are pretty much full build right now. They're coming close to it, and that's the issue that Flashpoint is running into right now, is that not only are they behind like pretty severely in as far as experience is concerned, but when you're also down like 1-2 items to literally every single member of Aegir, that gets really rough to fight into.
So it's just a patience game now coming out from Aegir, if anything. If they can find a pick, that'll be great, and pick up a tab even better, but Sops already forced a leap away. Oh, that Earthbreaker was so close, but not close enough for the pickup. The fight engaging them, there's still some pressure coming out. Aegir being forced back for a second with Mirage diving in too, but the health bars are so good.
And Sam for Soccer with the 4-man ultimate onto everybody at Flashpoint. Zapman's already taken to the sky. Divios cleans
Zap.
up. Oof.
That was beautiful as Sop lands down there. Zap's like, no, my friend, that's mine. Tier 2 tower in the mid lane, now being sieged down by Aegir. 2 members once again dead on the side of Flashpoint. The remaining 3 members are going to have to stand at the Phoenix as the onslaught is on its way.
And this is so well played by Aegir, because they're not slowing down the gas pedal. They are just completely diving headfirst into Flashpoint, and Sheyka's dead. Whalrus is dead. There's literally only Shadowq left alone. This solo Fafnir, I don't see how he's going to be able to defend the Phoenix or even the Titan.
I think the one thing Flashpoint can look back at in game 1 is the fact the Fire Giant call, I think, was the right call. The Fire Giant call, it was a risky call, but you've got to try and get back into the game somehow. If they get the Fire Giant and manage to maybe survive a little bit longer, maybe one more man stays alive, they could have potentially got themselves a small window to get back in. But Aegir, they were so far ahead already, it made it so tricky.
What I really like, though, by Aegir is even after they lost the Fire Giant, they didn't let that slow down their pacing.
Sure.
They took the aggressive role, and that's really what you need to do. When you know that you have that experience lead and the items, like, you might as well just keep pressuring into the enemy team, because at that point, Flashpoint was too far behind to really utilize that Fire Giant in the slightest. So it was free reign for Aegir to aggress.
Aegir